Guys, welcome back to Strong Successful Male. So for today, I'm going to go over an article titled, "No One Seems to Want a Real Relationship Anymore. It's all casual sex and it's super lame." And guys, this article, to no surprise, is written by a woman, and she's basically complaining about how things are in the state of the world today with regards to dating and the lack of interest in relationships. And unlike a lot of articles I've done that are similar to this, in those articles, the woman almost always ends up blaming men because of things like this, because of the lack of interest in relationships and settling down and getting married. Blame is always assigned on us. But in this particular article, she's not doing that. She's basically asking the question and addressing how things are in this time period, okay? So I'll give her credit where credit's due. But I'm willing to bet you guys that when she was younger, she was probably the same way in terms of, because of the influence of dating apps and social media and all the attention that women can get from that, her standards are probably very high. She's probably super picky, loved all the attention and validation that she got. So there was no settling down. But now that she's older and really she wants to settle, she's finding that more and more guys just simply aren't interested. But it goes both ways, obviously. And I got to tell you, there's different parts to this, okay? From the perspective from women of why they are that way in today's world, you can basically put the blame on thanks to the feminist movement, the S-word revolution, and the never-ending supply of attention and validation women can get thanks to social media and dating apps. You combine that all together, and that's why basically things are the way they are in terms of women in today's world. Because as I've told you before, guys, women love attention and validation. They need attention and validation, and some way more than others. And I don't care what anybody says, all women need attention and validation. And so in today's world, when they can get it round the clock, around the world from guys, it is very hard for a woman to just switch that off if they meet a guy and get in a relationship. Because in my opinion, if I would do relationships, and I don't, but if I did, I'm not going to have her being on social media and dating app or just social media, because guess what? The attention's still there, okay? And I'm not exactly going to be going out with ugly chicks, all right? So do you think your average gal that thrives on that attention and validation has been used to that for years now, especially the ones in their 20s or early 30s, because social media has been around for, over 15 years or so? You think they're going to switch that off? Not a chance. Okay, no way. All right, so you can see, and because of all that attention and validation, that's where the egos have risen. That's why so many are so demanding in today's world, feeling entitled to six-figure income, 6 feet tall, six-pack, and all that, and are so picky. And they wonder why, they get to their 30s, and basically they want to settle, and guys aren't interested anymore. On the flip side with guys have been burned so many times thanks to the influence of all that and the attitude the women have gotten thanks to all those things I was mentioning. They're now waking up and realize, I'm not doing relationships because I know she's going to be always looking for something better. She's always going to be looking for that attention and validation on social media. So screw that. And guys like that have been burned enough times or had their hearts broken, have done their homework. They've learned about how things really are in today's world, especially with female nature, found channels like mine and plenty of others. They're not doing it anymore. And if they are doing it, they are simply having rotations and casual hookups. That's it. So, and again, thanks in part to how things have gone, thanks with women. So this is the state of how things are today. And I'm doing my part to help make guys aware of how things are. I'm sure at some point the marriage industry is going to have bounty hunters looking for me and put a price on my head for the impact I'm going to have on the wedding industry. And hey, fine. But I'm going to go into this, guys, and you're going to see where I'm talking about, where her complaints are and all that. So, getting started, it says, "Am I crazy, or are we going through the dark ages of dating right now? The millennial generation seems to love to keep things up in the air, half-committed, and confusing as hell. We don't like labels, and we definitely don't like to talk about how we feel to our partners. So how are we supposed to form actual relationships?" Well, guys aren't going to be talking about their feelings to their girlfriends because many guys have learned the hard way that when they do, guess what happens? It turns her off. Because in spite of her saying that she wants a guy that can open up, the reality is, back to the whole women say one thing but they mean another, or they don't understand what they emotionally respond to when a guy opens up about his feelings, his insecurities and fears, It turns them off because they want a guy that's going to be their rock. Okay, and the guy who's a rock, who's the strong one, doesn't do that bullshit. But you see that all the time in the movies and TV, right? Number 1, aren't relationships supposed to be about growing together? I feel like our generation has completely forgotten what relationships are actually for. They're not for staving off temporary loneliness or scratching our itch for physical intimacy. They're for growth. The most rewarding part of a relationship is when two people are open enough to discover new things together, either the world or about themselves. Unfortunately, we never seem to stay together long enough to even reach that point of comfort with each other. Again, that's today's world, it's just a reality. But there are plenty of guys out there, let's be honest here, that would do relationships, and they wanted to do relationships. But it was the women that weren't interested, okay? And they got burned enough times that finally when the women are ready to settle down, when they obviously get to be about 30 years old, these guys have been burned enough, not interested anymore, especially guys that have made themselves to be high value. Exactly what I was talking about in the beginning of the article. Number 2, what are we trying to avoid? It could be that people of the millennial generation have been spooked out of intimate relationships, which I think is mainly due to living through the divorce boom. That's a very valid point too. I didn't even mention that in the beginning. If our own parents didn't get divorced, our aunts, uncles, or best friends' parents did, and it affected us. We're afraid to let someone in. We're also afraid to commit to just one person in fear of making a huge mistake, in getting divorced. Exactly. I didn't even mention that in the beginning. Yeah, with the divorce rate, like 60% here in the States, many people, and it's very warranted that they're like, screw that, I'm not getting married because I'm going to get hammered in divorce court, from the perspective of men. And from women's point of view, although they can make out like bandits, obviously, in the divorce, because the law is on their side, still they obviously don't want to go through it either, so it goes both ways. And if you grow up in a household when the mom and dad hate each other's guts, and they went through a messy divorce, you don't want to go through that. Okay, I was fortunate. My parents were very loving towards each other, and a very good thing. A lot of people think that I had a very bad childhood, is the exact opposite. But I saw this in so many other relationships growing up over the years. Friends and family, their parents, family members, and all that. And of course, in my adult life, plenty of people I've known getting divorced. That's why I know what I know. That's why I spread the gospel of guys going their own way, so to speak. Next one. Traditional courtship feels like a waste of time and money. The fact that we have the option to swipe on hotties makes chasing after someone we like seem kind of pointless. Why pursue someone in the traditional way when we can just get as much satisfaction from flirting with someone through a dating app? It makes us feel good and wanted, and we don't have to wear pants. Simple. Right. How easy, again, is to get attention through social media and dating apps. She just mentioned right there. You know, like somebody, swipe, and then they're talking to somebody in the social media and dating apps. When it gets boring, on to somebody else. It's how it is. So how's somebody going to settle down when they always know there's something better? At least the perception is something's better around the corner. But there is always something new around the corner. That's what the technology has had on has impacted the dating world. Number 5. Flings can now last for months on end. Yeah, y'all know what I'm talking about. Those on-again, off-again kind of sort of relationships that are never defined, but you're just together. And you have no idea where it's going. The sad part is that these prolonged flings eventually fizzle out in the same sort of way a short summer fling would. Either through a ghosting, or you both just stop talking to each other. Again, how many of you guys have been in situations like that, right? And it goes both ways, men and women, but mainly guys. You're talking to a girl, you're hooking up, having a good time, and just, that's it. Never hear from her again. Completely ghost you. And so, again, women wonder why guys eventually start doing the same thing. Number 6, calling someone your boyfriend or girlfriend is uncomfortable. Why is our generation so weirded out with labels? We don't want to be someone's girlfriend, and we don't want to call someone our boyfriend. She's mentioning from the woman's perspective, not the guy's. Could it be that we don't feel secure in it? Could it be that we're thinking of all the other people on our apps that we could be dating? There you go. So we want to wait as long as we can before locking it down. My friends usually call their BF their person or their man friend. It's like having a boyfriend that makes you lame or square somehow. Guys, it is literally like the way it is right now. How with if you can have a woman that's just, I would say a woman that's an 8 in the looks department, good looking, can pretty much get it. When she walks into a room, guys notice her, lots of attention. She has endless opportunities. This is, again, an 8, not a 9 or a 10. And for her, literally, it's like, remember when I was a kid, if I would be out all day with my parents and we had to do lots of errands and all that stuff, oftentimes they say, if you're good and basically don't piss us off, you can get a toy later on. This wasn't all the time, but sometimes. So, of course, I'd behave, and we'd be at like some store that had a very small toy aisle, and I'd pick something out. And it wasn't too hard because like the grocery store aisle didn't have a whole lot of toys. So I could figure out what I wanted pretty quickly. But if they took me to Toys R Us, I'd be there all afternoon because I couldn't decide. It's the same thing with the dating apps and women. It's like Toys R Us, but they can pick anybody they want, so they can't make up their minds, and they're not too quick to settle because in the mind is there's always somebody better, something else. It's also like watching TV. When I was a little kid, we didn't have a whole lot of options in terms of channels, so I could always find something to watch. But nowadays, we can have hundreds of channels. And how many of you guys ever sat down to have dinner or lunch in front of the TV, and you wanted to find something entertaining, and you're flipping the channels, and you're going 20 minutes, and you can't find what you want to watch while you eat your lunch or dinner. And then you got to keep going back to the microwave to warm up your lunch or dinner because you can't decide. All these options. It's the same thing with the dating apps of women today. Number 7, there are too many fish in the sea. These dating apps are all great, but do we ever stop to think that having too many choices is actually bad for our mental health and general perspective on relationships? It's just what I was talking about with just like the toy store scenario. Do you think that maybe if you're swiping through people all day, you're going to start treating the real people in your life with less respect? I'm not saying that dating apps are brainwashing us into seeing people merely as objects to be judged. Oh, wait, yeah, I'm actually saying that. Yeah, exactly. If you have the attitude that you got endless opportunities, you're going to have a meh attitude. That's what so many women have in today's world towards guys. And some people can say like, oh, well, guys are the same way. We all know darn well who benefits from all the dating apps, okay? There's generally more guys on dating apps than there are women. And endless supply of guys are going to give the women the attention and validation. So if you're an average girl and you can get dozens of guys contacting you a week, why do you have to be so nice, right? You get to be picky. And this is just an average girl. This is why I tell you guys, stop giving women the attention and validation. It only makes things worse, okay? The only time you should ever remotely give attention and validation is when you are approaching her to ask her out or get things rolling to ask her out. Not just simply just liking a picture or emailing her with a compliment just to do so. That's stupid. But I know I'm preaching to the choir here. I mean, if I can, through what I say here, can get through to some guys, I'm helping the world here. But the reality is there's going to be a never-ending supply of guys. They're going to just keep doing this crap. But I don't want you guys doing that. Number 8, we're throwing each other away over petty things. People my age seem to be really good at coming up with excuses to move on to the next person. They're either not old enough, not tall enough, or said one thing that offended us. When we do find someone we like, we have this inkling in the back of our minds that we can do better. What'd I tell you? So instead of treasuring what we have, we string out those long casual sex sprees, and then when we're ready for someone new, we drop them because they had a weird haircut. How many guys are watching me right now that something of what you described happened to you? So is it any wonder that guys, after going through this so many times, say, you know what, that's it. I'm not doing relationships anymore. I'm going to have rotations too. It won't be as easy for me to have rotations of girls I'm seeing the way it is for a woman, but I can get to that point through self-improvement, improving myself in all areas of my life. And I'm not doing relationships anymore because I know how easily I can be cast aside for like nothing because she knows she has lots of opportunities. And the women whine and complain when their SMV runs out when they get to their 30s. They're not as desirable and they want to settle down. But these same guys they burned in their 20s, these guys, they've been burned enough. They're not settling down. And we have a lot of whining and complaining, kind of like what we got here. Although she's handling it fairly well. I will give her credit. Next one. Potential dates are losing their value. Remember when going on a first date was actually super exciting. You'd be thinking about it for literally an entire week, and you were nervous, but also hopeful. Now I've noticed that when a friend says that they have a date, they're already a little ho-hum about it. Maybe it's because it's the third one this week and it's already getting old. We're going on dates just for the sake of it, not because we met somebody amazing. It's killing our spirit and turning us into bitter cat ladies, and we're only in our 20s. Hey, she said it, not me. Well, yeah, 20s. Wait to the 30s. And wait to the 40s. Now I gotta wonder if she's writing this now and she's obviously more blaming women. If you read between the lines here, you can see that she is, so good for her. In 10 years or 15 years, if she does the same thing that she's saying shouldn't be done, will be she assigning blame on guys? We shall see. Number 10, last one. We don't need relationships like we used to. The value of relationships has plummeted. Relationships used to be a necessity if you wanted to move out of the house and get on with our lives. But obviously, that's no longer the case. Because of this, we often question what the point of being in a relationship even is anymore. Everything we used to need a guy for, we can now take care of ourselves. Why bother? Right, exactly. And the reality is that both parties, both men and women, really don't need each other. And the thing is that back in the day, guys needed women to obviously give them children. And that's not going to change today, okay? But they also need women to cook, clean, do laundry, take care of the kids, grocery shopping, that type of stuff. But things have changed now that, guess what? Men cook, men do their laundry, we clean, but we don't clean like women do. We do grocery shopping. We can raise a kid ourselves. We can take him out. On the flip side, women, guess what? They have careers now. And they can do all that shit too. So that's just the direction that things have gone. But at the end of the day, men, the old joke, women are the gatekeepers of sex, men are the gatekeepers of relationships. Well, at the end of the day, almost all women want to settle down at some point. They want to be on the path towards the altar, and that's when they need men. And so all the guys they want to give the time of day to when they were younger, teens and 20s, because they were busy with Chad and Tyrone and the bad boys, they get to their 30s, now they're going after these nice guys that they wouldn't give the time of day when they're younger. And as time is going on, more of these guys have been burned so bad, they're not doing relationships anymore. And then you got the women complaining, where are all the really good men? Why don't men want to settle down? And on and on and on. You guys know what I'm talking about here. So this is today's world, and again, this is an article, just someone addressing this and bringing it up. And she's complaining, but she's not being too bad about it. So anyway, guys, I thought you would find that entertaining, just reinforcing what I've been talking about for a long time here. So that is it for today. Be sure to comment down below. Let me know what you think about this, and be sure to like the video, share with your friends, and subscribe. And I'll catch you next time.